Alright.
Alright. So, there's some consideration to telling and talking to Nadine and maybe giving her the blueprints, but yeah, let's go talk to Kevin.
Yep.
That must be him.
Not quite sure why we invited Kevin over anyway.
Because it was an option and we were bored.
Yep.
Very cute.
Hello.
Good to see you again.
This is where you live, huh?
For the time being.
That's pretty nice for a small town like this one. Are you insulting our town, which we just came to visit and
Yes.
have no circular connection to?
Are you not from around here?
No, I'm just here for the job until the next semester starts. Basically, I'm trying to drum up interest for the college and see if there's anyone around who'd like to apply for it.
How's that working out?
Well, I haven't actually met that many candidates out here so far. For a town like this one, it's typical for the young people to go into an apprenticeship to prepare for their future job of learn to say apprenticeship rather than go to college. But if there's anyone willing, we want to find them.
Even out here?
Yeah, there's always a need for more highly educated people in the cities as they expand.
Cities? That's the first I hear of cities in this world. I thought this town was where it's at.
You know, other than the time that Laura mentioned cities.
Laura mentioned cities, or Sebastian mentioned cities, or
Yeah.
all these other people mentioned cities.
If you mention all the plot holes, we'll be here all day.
Well, you know, sun's going down. We were here all day. Then you've really been missing out. This town isn't really all that special when it comes down to it. I've lived in the city for most of my life. Of course, that's also where the college is. I don't think they'd build one out here anyway.
I think as ambassador, they'd show me around a bit, but apparently that isn't the case.
Well, maybe they were planning to do that before the whole Razor thing happened.
Right?
Clearly, they've never heard of a college town before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Your visit is a bit of a political issue right now. The bottom line is that it's also for your own protection. Everything surrounding the portal has been a well-kept secret. People know that it exists and that we currently have human visitors, but the exact location is only known to those who live here. And their friends and relatives out of town because the people here can't keep secrets.
Right?
If it ever got out, I don't think this town could face the ensuing torrent of tourists trying to catch a glimpse of you. Travel has been restricted as well. There are strict conditions for people who want to come out here, which, of course, has not tipped anyone off to the fact that there's anything interesting going on here. The only reason I was allowed to is because this isn't the first time I'm doing this job. The people here already know me. Heck, I didn't even know this was the town in question until I arrived and heard everyone talking about you.
Well, I'm glad they're taking this matter seriously.
They certainly are.
I'd like to know more about those cities you talked about, though.
Well, I can only speak about the one I live in, but what do you want to know?
I only really have this town as a point of reference, so why don't you tell me about what's different?
Gee, that's only pretty much everything. Out here, living in general seems to be a lot cheaper than it is in the city, and there's much more room for everything. It's almost like we're not in the middle of a city. There are green spaces, fields, parks, and farms. You don't really see that in the city. Well, except for Central Park. People are more laid back, and there's a bigger sense of community, as everybody knows everyone, which can be both good and bad. For example, rumors travel fast and survive well in areas like this one. In the city, you can just make new friends when that happens, but out here, a few well-placed stories can mean social death.
Accurate.
In the city, it's also much more crowded. Buildings pretty much line the streets, and there isn't much room for anything else. But with the clubbing scene and opportunities for socializing, there's no shortage of potential friends. There are also many different jobs and education opportunities that you wouldn't find out here, such as software engineering jobs, Like Lorem's going to maybe get eventually if he doesn't get murdered first.
Right? Like what?
Creative jobs of all kinds, for example. Game designers, writers, artists, that kind of stuff. The same goes for teaching positions in these areas as well. For example, if I wanted to learn how to write a romance novel, I can find a course for that easily, on the internet, but we haven't invented that yet. Out here, this would be a lot more difficult. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
In a way, it feels like you're always busy when you live in the city. The streets are usually filled with people trying to get somewhere. Of course, this is also a side effect of the small apartments, as people tend to go out more often and seek entertainment elsewhere.
Which do you prefer?
In the end, I suppose I prefer the city. That's not to say that I think one is better than the other. Different strokes for different folks and all that. But it's really boring out here, I mean seriously.
These murders are the most interesting that's happened in the last 5 years.
Right?
You know, out here people would probably laugh at some of the things I do in my free time. But in the city, you get enough like-minded people to even get conventions going on about all kinds of things.
Like
furries.
Like furries and ponies and, you know...
Dating dragons.
and comics,
bridge.
Obviously.
Well,
Board
he
games.
needs to go to a furry convention in order to meet anyone.
Exactly, right? He's the only furry dragon he knows.
Well, he's the only furry dragon in this podunk town.
Right.
I'm sure there's others in the city.
Right. What conventions do you go to?
I like all kinds of geeky things. Cartoons, comics, and all that stuff. I've even written a few fanfics before, too, since I can't really draw all that well.
Wow, admitting that to a stranger, that's bold.
Yeah, seriously.
Aren't cartoons usually for kids?
You are so behind the times, Connie. That's like saying books are usually just for kids. Cartoons are just a medium. Of course there are some that are aimed at kids, but there are cartoons for adults as well, such as South Park.
And
Cartoons for adults, I see.
Not like that. Well, I mean, there are cartoons like that, but I swear I wasn't talking about hentai.
In any case, what else falls under geeky interest for you?
Let's see. I guess you could say I'm kind of a techie. I do like following news about technology and hearing all about new developments in the industry.
You must be pretty interested in the portal then.
Oh, right. I didn't even consider that I could actually go there and check it out. If I knew where it was, that is.
I could show you.
That's probably a bad
that would
idea.
only be a terrible breach of security.
Yeah, seriously. If you did that, you'd be like the coolest human I've ever met.
I'm
and
the
also
only
the
human
least
you
cool
ever
human
met.
I've ever met.
yeah.
I suppose you'd be that by default, since you're
Damn it.
also the only human I've ever met. But you get the idea. I would totally appreciate it if you would blatantly violate all security procedures for me.
God, this whole scene makes no sense. Let's just go.
I'll be right behind you.
It's a terrible idea.
Such a terrible
He's
idea.
gonna murder you up there.
No, Raisin's gonna murder both of us out there.
Or we're gonna meet Sebastian. He's gonna be like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And we're gonna be like, "It seemed like a good idea at the time."
Mavers is totally gonna be on duty now.
Neighbors can't be on duty.
They're
He's
short-staffed.
on leave.
No, what you're going to do
Mavers is never on leave.
There's a whole plot point about how no one was guarding the portal because Mavers was supposed to be on duty and no one replaced him because right?
Because they're dumb?
Because they're dumb. Because Bryce forgot.
No, what you're gonna do is you're gonna
'Cause he
go
was
there,
drunk.
you're gonna get laid in the bathroom, and you're gonna sleep through Reza's whole spiel about destroying the world.
There it is in all its glory.
Whoa.
That looks so much cooler than what I thought it would.
Halt. State your business.
Fucking told you so. I just wanted to show the portal to my friend here.
Because I don't think before I do things.
Well, friend, you can look, but don't touch anything. And no photos either.
Do I look like I have a camera? I don't know. You got all that chest floof. You could be hiding anything in there.
Well, you could be hiding something in your floof.
Are you going to give me a pat down?
Do you want me to give you a pat down?
Yes. I mean no. I mean what? What's that though?
Flyers for our Midwest institution. I could give you one if you're interested in going back to school.
No, thank you. I'm quite happy with my current job, which is protecting the portal from any unsavory individuals.
Only sweet ones. Only sweet
What's
ones.
up with
come
you,
here.
Sebastian?
Just doing my job, Zani.
Well, no.
He could be a spy.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
he's not.
He's not savory.
He's not
unsavory.
protecting it. Yeah,
No
yeah.
sweet-
not
no sweet ones
in-
here.
No sweet individuals here. Only savory ones.
God damn it.
What?
How's on?
No, it's
Keep
it's
up,
just
dude.
it's just bad. Just pretend it didn't happen. You'll be much happier. Really?
There's been a lot of interest in the portal from the cities. They've made us offers, but for now, we're not doing anything till we see how your visit turns out.
How's he know this
What?
guy's from the city?
Because he knows him. It's a small town. Everybody knows everybody.
Oh.
He was here last summer as well.
Okay, thank you.
In the end, it's just a political power struggle. Small towns like us have to protect our interests.
And in the process, reinforce the stereotype of country bumpkins being conspiracy nuts.
You know I could arrest you, right?
Oh, what charge?
Respect is a two-way street.
Sassing a
Just
police
saying.
officer.
That hope you can get arrested.
Trust is good, but control is better. It's just a matter of perspective.
Whoa, Sebastian.
Well,
Didn't
I think
realize
I've
you were-
seen enough here anyway. Let's head back, Zani.
Sure.
I didn't see
That
Sebastian
got
as that type
intense.
of person.
I didn't realize he was such a totalitarian.
So,
Well, that's why he wears the hat.
You're not gonna leak anything, are you?
Of course not. Now that I think about it, I totally could, though.
Oh, really?
I have some connections and a potential audience.
It's his fanfic readers.
Now you're starting to sound like Sebastian had a point.
Not really. I just know a few people from writing a column in our college magazine. It got popular enough that it was even featured in the local newspaper for a while. Wow, that sounds like a very small town thing for your city.
Alright. Interesting. What did you write about?
Nothing special, really.
Nerdy shit.
It was just commentary about current events.
I see. I guess you're pretty involved in your local community then.
Not more than anyone else, I think.
What's it like to actually live on campus?
College in general is a pretty unique period of life, I'd say. Something I've noticed is that some people are not prepared for the independence they have when living on campus, and they just spend their whole time getting drunk and forget to take their midterms and they fail.
Shots.
But you wouldn't be speaking from personal experience at all, I'm sure.
You know, a lot of the time I had no idea where my freshman year roommates were. There was one of them that I literally did not see for months. He joined a fraternity. Actually, he joined two fraternities. I forget the details on that without telling anyone, and he just stopped coming back to the room, and we didn't know what happened to him.
Oh my god.
You are given a chaotic schedule where you have nothing to do on some days, whereas on others you are kept busy with classes, homework, and other things that you have to do. With study buddies, roommates, and classmates, it's not really hard to make new friends. You also get to meet a lot of people who share similar interests from taking the same classes or being in the same clubs. And don't forget about the dorms, so all these people are always within reach, which can be both good and bad. You can be tempted to hang out with friends or lovers when you should really be studying.
Hashtag my entire college career.
Hashtag I call bullshit on this. This was not my college experience.
Erica, you did college wrong.
we didn't say
I've
this.
already been told that by multiple people.
Yeah, no, I did college wrong too, but for the most part, that was on purpose.
I went to a house party once, and then I was like, this is kind of terrible. I don't want to do this again.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get house parties.
There are other ways to hang out with people in college that don't involve going to a house and getting crunkyo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
People who go to house parties, like, regularly, don't even understand house parties.
don't know. I think it must be an extrovert thing.
I think so.
They're a strange and mysterious creature.
Definitely not for the kind of people who would be recording a Let's Play about dating dragons.
Look,
Yes.
here's how you do college right. You use the sweet-ass LAN that they have because all the computers are connected together, hook up a bunch of Xboxes, and just Halo all night. It's fine.
That was basically our college experience, yeah.
Maybe eventually you sort of take a step up and go to D&D.
Yeah. Or Star Wars RPG.
Stuff
Yeah.
like that.
I don't know, guys. You kind of left out the sex and drugs and alcohol. What the hell?
That was
didn't
more
do those
your
things.
generation's thing.
Yeah.
I did
we
that-
did college right.
I did that the week between the end of finals and graduation ceremony.
Does
So, like,
taking
they
2
know-
Benadryl after an allergic reaction count as drugs?
I don't think so.
No.
It felt like drugs, let me tell you.
I was getting rushed to the hospital
more-
because you are count as partying hard.
No.
No, but you
That
do
is
get
the
to go on a
opposite of
ride.
partying.
You do get to go in
I'm
with
gonna
my
have to
mom.
cut all of this
You get to go on a
out.
ride on
Probably.
the fancy limousine with the lights on it.
Yeah.
Oh no, I
it
didn't
is
get
getting a
one
little
of those.
personal.
They just put me in the back of a police car.
Oh shit.
Whoa.
Alright,
Guys.
now that we're busy reminiscing about our
Guys.
terrible college
Guys, this is going on the internet, guys.
Yeah, you
Don't
should-
say anything you wouldn't want the police to know.
I said
Police?
I spoke only about legal activities.
Anyway.
Yes. So anyway, for many people, it becomes the first taste of real freedom and independence. Some just handle it better than others, I suppose. That can be a problem with team projects, for example. There's always someone who ends up never showing up and not doing any part of the work.
That was totally me in college.
So, yeah, sounds like you. For me, it's not really a problem, since I actually enjoy what I'm doing here. I don't mind the homework, and sometimes I read up on subjects in advance so I don't get left behind. I've even corrected the professor once or twice during a lecture. Wow,
Nerd.
impressive.
Aw.
I was always too shy to do that.
Totally have done enough.
I totally did that all the time.
Yeah.
Not so much in college because in giant lecture halls it's kind of a pain to actually do that.
Yeah.
But definitely in high school.
It kind of depends on the size of your class.
True. I think that wouldn't be a good idea with certain kinds of professors. Yeah, maybe it would have been harder if your professor's a dragon.
For instance.
Well, with ours, I was even allowed the privilege of giving a guest lecture for my own class once.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing I was talking about.
Come on, learning should be fun. It certainly is for me.
I suppose being able to have that kind of attitude makes it a lot easier.
It certainly does.
Them stripes should be blue, not red.
Let's see if it keeps up once you have a few more semesters under your non-existent belt.
Don't be so negative. And just for your information, I do have a belt at home.
What's it for?
It's for when he has to dress up for a fancy occasion.
Or as one of the
Obviously.
village people.
It's to keep his fur from falling down.
Yeah, when he really wants to be prepared, obviously he has suspenders to use in addition to the belt.
Of course.
Besides, it's not as if I'm some antisocial hermit who only focuses on his studies. I just know when to say no to my friends.
Oh, really?
Yes, we usually get together on the weekends and do some cooking together. People can only stand so much frozen food before they get sick of it, and eating out in the city can add up pretty quickly if you're not careful.
I see.
Now, see, we only ate out on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
We rotate the cook every week, but apparently people are looking forward to when it's my turn. I've gotten a lot of compliments for my homemade mac and cheese. Baked
Why
mac
is
and cheese.
Kevin me?
One of my roommates had a good baked mac and cheese recipe that I made occasionally.
Mhm.
I forget
Yeah.
what was in there beyond the obvious macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, Jenny would make mac and cheese with sausage or hot dog bits in it. It was pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good way to go.
Now that we have our own apartment, though, you mostly eat Subway.
Yeah.
and DoorDash. The issue is that in order to cook, you must have ingredients to cook. In order to have ingredients to cook, you must have planned in the past. And in order to plan in the past, you must actually take the time and effort to figure out what you're going to do and what you need and get it. And that's a lot of time and effort in deciding.
DoorDash is a food group.
DoorDash is all the food groups.
It's great.
That's why Blue Apron.
Now you're making me hungry.
I'm hungry too.
Oh, maybe he'll make something in your kitchen.
I bet they all miss it, but they'll get to taste it again once summer vacation is over in a month or so.
And in the meantime, you're just out here handing out flyers?
Yep. It's good to help our college, and I can also save up a bit in the process. It's certainly easier than trying to juggle a job and homework at the same time later on if things get tight.
What were you studying again?
Psychology.
I see. Alright. Go ahead and analyze me right now.
Psychologists probably hate it when you just say that to them.
Yep.
It doesn't really work like that. Not even remotely.
I know. You just passed the test.
Oh, I know what you're getting at. Maybe I'll steal that test from you, though. Might be worth trying it out on a few people I know.
Be my guest. On a more serious note, tell me something about what you're learning.
What, anything?
I just want to get an idea on the subject, and whether it's comparable to our own understanding of psychology.
Alright, let me tell you about category theory. Well, I could tell you about an old and very simplified model of our psyche that we got taught in introductory classes.
Sounds good.
Okay, so this model divides our psychic apparatus into 3 distinct parts called id, ego, and superego.
Jiminalard, I called it K.
The id represents our most basic desires and instinctual drives that are left over from before we were bioengineered out of dinosaurs. That's, yeah, the rest of it didn't matter probably.
What's the difference?
An impulse is more like wanting to lash out in anger, for example. The id seeks out immediate gratification for these urges. It is in conflict with the superego, which represents learned behavior like cultural and moral rules and the stuff that the administrator put in our brains, and societal standards.
I don't see those words up there.
The kind of stuff we learn from parents, teachers, and administrators.
The superego is the part that forms our conscience and controls our sense of right and wrong. It seeks to uphold these standards to perfection, which most of the time goes against what the id wants at any given moment.
You sound like you had to learn a lot of this.
Yeah, Professor Freud was very strict. If these internalized rules are broken, this misbehavior is punished by the superego with feelings of guilt and shame. This way, we are compelled to behave in accordance to these rules, even if the id tempts us to do otherwise. And in between these 2 conflicting parts of us, there is the ego who is trying to mediate. It represents our rational mind that seeks to please the id's drives in a way that doesn't harm us or goes against the superego's goals. However, it also serves another master, the external world. The ego includes all our decision-making and how we respond to external stimuli. Ultimately, it is the one calling the shots while trying to balance the needs of the id, the superego, and the external world. And there you have it, an outdated, simplified model of our psyche. It still serves as a good introduction, though.
Thank you. Actually, I think I may have heard about something like this before. Why'd you go with psychology in particular?
I wanted to be like Hari Seldon. I'm just interested in how people work, I suppose, and I want to be like Hari Seldon. It's also an incredibly diverse subject, and so are the potential jobs. Such as selling fries at McDonald's.
McRonald's.
Thank you.
Oh, you're right.
We have McRonald's in this world.
I
Welcome
took
for
psych
that.
because it was the one with the least amount of homework.
I feel like
Really?
we're confusing our cans here.
Just being able to understand people is such a huge factor in many fields, such as attracting customers to your McDonald's. And the skills you learn can come in handy in all areas of life, really.
Like becoming manager
And
at
dating
McDonald's.
sim.
When people hear about psychology, most usually think of psychologists or psychotherapists, but they can also be counselors for communities, which, is very different from being a therapist.
There's actually quite a few
And-
psychology jobs.
Really? Huh.
For communities and organizations, researchers, or teachers. You'll also often see them teaming up with other professionals to influence every part of society. Just think about hospitals, courtrooms, prisons, even schools and universities. I'd imagine, though, that you can't do shit with just a bachelor's in psychology.
Uh-huh.
Oh no.
No, you need a
They-
doctorate.
If you want to work in strictly psychology. Though there are quite a few human resources jobs in this world, and that's basically all human resources is.
I could see like psychology being really useful for like any job that involves like coordinating with people and
Yeah,
Something
that's
like
why
that.
my sister got her AA in psychology
Hmm.
because she wants to train people.
Interesting. They can also become coaches for high-performance jobs where they work with CEOs, athletes, and performers of all kinds. Every institution and every business that works with people can profit from the presence of someone who has studied psychology. That's why you'll also find this kind of knowledge to be incredibly helpful even when you are a manager or in sales, because these jobs require empathy and an understanding of your client's needs. And that's why I didn't study psychology, because people are dumb.
Psychology just gave me the opportunity to write essays about how people are dumb.
Oh,
Oh my god.
still sounds like too much essays.
The emotional
Well,
quotient.
actually,
Really, any
they were
class that required me to write any essays at all was too much essays.
Actually,
Seriously.
I only had to answer short answer questions on
Oh,
the exam.
nice.
I did not even have homework for most of them.
Wow.
One of them I had to write 300 words a week about how one topic that we talked about in class related to my life.
It's not very many words.
Yeah, one of the TAs though got sort of scared and was like, "It'll get better, it's okay." On the grading of my essay.
Oh.
Understanding people is just something that can come in handy pretty much wherever you go, and that's what psychology is all about. Even in video games, psychology is a factor. Horror games are an obvious example, but also with tutorials or UI design.
Yes. Sorry.
basically.
And how people interact with your game, psychology and player expectations are always going to be a factor.
So many user studies.
I think I get the idea.
Why is this a big commercial for psychology students?
This game just kind of wanders sometimes.
They have to haze us before we can get the achievement for talking to him.
Oh,
Yeah. Out here, I think a lot could still be done to improve the image of the field,
What do you mean?
There's a bit of a stigma to admitting that you need help, especially when you're doing fine physically. For them, it's a sign of weakness, so in order to preserve their image, they hide everything away. But locking away those feelings doesn't solve the problem. If anything, it only makes it worse.
Is that something you'd like to work with?
Me? Honestly, I don't know if I could tackle a big issue like that. It's good for me that psychology is such a diverse field, because I'm not quite sure where I'm going with it yet, or what particular job I'd like to have after I'm done with my studies.
I see. I think you still have plenty of time to figure that out.
Yep. Before I came here for my summer job, I was interning at a psychotherapist's office for a month. I got to hear about some very interesting and also tragic cases. I thought I wanted to help people with issues like that, but sometimes it's pretty hard to not be affected too much by these stories. So I'm not sure if that's the right job for me.
But you already like working with people, right?
I don't know. Maybe entering there was a little too close to the sun for me. I found out that people are such people. I mean, really.
If you didn't, why would you be the one to hand out the flyers?
Because it pays slightly above minimum wage.
It's just like you mentioned earlier. Psychology comes in handy with sales and similar jobs where you have to interact with people. Handing out flyers is pretty similar to that, don't you think?
Nope.
I guess.
You seem to be doing well enough with that. You're helping to bring your college and people together, and in this way you're helping both.
And it's been a lot of fun, too. After all, I got to meet you and even got a glimpse of the portal.
Who knows? Maybe one of those people you handed a flyer will one day turn out to be famous for their work.
And they won't remember you. Now, I think that's a little too idealistic, but I give your point. It doesn't always have to be about big problems. Little problems need solving too, by little dragons like me.
Like what you're eating on the weekend.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
Well, that's one way to solve a little problem.
Yeah.
What about you, though?
What do you mean?
Well, I don't want to pry, but we've been talking all this time, and you know a lot more about me now than I do about you. Maybe you can't say anything about where you grew up or what you studied because it's top secret or whatever, and also we're not allowed to give too many details about the player character for obvious reasons. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't curious.
Well, I don't like talking about myself all that much, and I think there are some things that are better left unsaid.
I see.
But if you're curious, I guess it's only fair I share a few things as well. You know, it's been fun talking about college. I already got my degrees a while ago. It was interesting to go hunting for jobs with my unusual combination of degrees, but I thought that would open a few doors. But before I got anywhere, our world underwent a few changes that made a lot of jobs obsolete.
And also a lot of people dead.
It's been a rough time since then. Turns out those degrees came in handy after all, because in the end they enabled me to come here. If I consider all the good and bad that's happened here since my arrival, it's been a vacation compared to home, and it looks like the vacation might come to an end soon. I don't know what's going to happen after that. I can only hope my visit here will have started something that will mean change for our world, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I shouldn't be such a downer, though. Sorry for bringing it up, but maybe that explains why I don't like talking about it. What's your professional opinion on this?
Well, in my professional opinion as a flyer distributor, I'd recommend a generous application of hugs, but that's just me. You look like you could need them.
Holy fuck, he's me!
Alright,
Go for it.
Let's
Go
have
for it,
the
you need
fuzzy
a hug.
dragon hug.
Yeah.
He took a step forward, and I soon found myself being enveloped in the furry dragon's embrace. With him pulling me close, it felt like a giant furry blanket was all around me as the hairs tickled my exposed skin. After a few seconds, we parted, and he took a step back again.
So floofy.
So fruity.
I hope things can be better for you in the future. I don't think I can do anything to help with that, though.
I know. You prefer the little problems.
And suddenly it's dark.
Whoa.
That's a little problem, too.
It's getting dark. I should probably head out and look for a cave, or else I'll have to sleep in the streets. You don't have a place to stay around here?
What are you talking about?
Well, it seems like all the hostels are already full. Despite the vetting process for visitors, enough people got in to take all available short-term lodging spots in this town.
Oh no.
Oh, really?
Yep. Despite only a few people knowing your location, or that of the portal, journalists and tourists are flocking to the towns, hoping to catch a glimpse or at least find a clue of your whereabouts. That only leaves me with the option of finding or renting a cave for the night, or sleeping in the streets.
Oh.
Not that I'd mind sleeping in a cave, but for someone like me it's usually something for an adventurous weekend rather than a way of life. And rocks don't exactly make for the best bedding. But
Bro.
Your floof does.
Couch.
They need to invent Airbnb.
Really? All the Airbnb places are already filled up with these nosy tourists.
Yeah. There's plenty of room here, and it's kind of my fault that you couldn't find another place anyway.
I guess that means you don't share the officer's suspicions about me being a spy, then.
Not really.
I think a spy would be better prepared.
Huh. You know, I could totally take this room apart while you're sleeping.
Please
So
don't.
what? It's not my room.
You're not helping your case there. Besides, you won't really find anything special here.
Hey, I'd keep an eye on that copy of Draconic Desire you've got on the shelf there. I might be tempted to snatch it when you're not looking.
Like I'd mind. If you need something for bedtime reading, feel free to help yourself.
Oh, I will.
Yay, we got an achievement.
Yay!
Student.
He's going to read your fortune off your back.
Alright.
Oh, and leadership.
I was waiting for a third one again.
Just
two
two
cards.
this time.
Alright, that took
Nobody.
a while.
Nobody.
Are we
Yes.
done
Alright,
with
you
the
stop
game
this
now?
episode.
Yeah.
That
That's
I
what?
wonder if he'll have breakfast for you.
I doubt it.